Welcome to episode 2 of Nashville Guitar Stories. Today I have Nicky V in the studio with me. He's a session guitarist, producer, and band leader, and the driving force behind NashvilleTracking.com, a premier production service here in town. He's also a successful YouTuber who has racked up nearly 4 million views by generously sharing his professional journey with us. Without any further ado, let's get into it. First of all, where are you from?
I'm from Cape Girardeau, Missouri, a little town in southeast Missouri. And grew up there my whole life until I was 18, then moved to LA. Yep, went to the Musicians Institute out there, did the GIT thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good school, yeah. I know quite a few illustrious alumni.
There's been a pretty big migration of us to Nashville, I think, in recent years.
Yeah, with good reason, but we'll get to that. What did you study at MI?
Just guitar. Guitar performance was the associate's degree.
Cool.
Yeah, man. Did that, but before that, I was back in southeast Missouri. I started playing when I was 13. And my mom taught me just like basic cowboy chords, and she played and sang a little bit. And then after that, I started playing in smoky bars from 14 to 18, basically 3 to 5 nights a week, and saving my pennies. That was it. I was kind of like I started out playing pool when I was really young, and so I knew all the guys from the bars, all the musicians from playing pool already. And so I was like, hey man, show me a lick or something. That's how on their set break they'd show me, like, here's a pentatonic scale, and they go through it and show me what's what. And then they'd get me up on stage the next time to play a song with them, and they'd be okay, no, don't just play the scale, like break it up a little bit and try to phrase it. So I learned very, hands-on with a band. It's kind of how I learned guitar, which is cool. And having the edge of the live experience was huge going to LA too, because as soon as I got to Los Angeles, there's very few guys that I was in school with that like had any experience playing with a band whatsoever. They had, private instructors in Europe or wherever they're from, and they're great musicians. Through reversal, a ton of facility on their instrument. But when it came to playing with a band and in the actual live rhythm section, they had no idea how to cue the band in the song and stage presence and all the things that are a little harder to teach, I have a feeling. So I feel like I got a lot out of college out there because I had those other factors already. Had tons of experience already by the time I was 18. Go out there, and now it's like, okay, here's how you organize this fretboard and put this all together. So I actually got to focus on the guitar. I literally did not play one show my entire time in Los Angeles. It's like I've done that. I'm here to soak up as much as I can from these guys, and we'll have access to these insanely experienced, instructors that have played on everything and played on film scores every day and could sight read anything, play anything you throw at them. So I was doing the best I could to get as much my money's worth as I could out of it while I was there. Yeah.
And also just the environment. I mean, it's a far cry from Missouri. It's kind of like New York or Nashville in that way, in that you can go to the baked potato and there's Steve Lukather.
Yeah.
So when did you get to Nashville?
2018. And I got here and I got really lucky right away. I was on a bus my 10th day in town and did that. At the same time, I was getting called for a handful of sessions. And before I moved to Nashville, I started recording online on these different freelance websites. And so I was helped to try to develop the skill set a little bit before I got here and kind of fail in private. Yeah. And so when I finally got, started getting called for a few sessions, I wasn't, I was still, greenish, but not completely green, And so I was doing a handful of sessions a month, like literally like 1 or 2 a month my first year in town, which I was super happy about, and had the artist gig. I was doing that, traveling around, doing radio tours with the artist when the band wasn't doing it. So it was good having that stable income and everything as well. Yeah. And momentum was building, and then the pandemic hit, and that kind of threw everything, a little weird, but I just doubled down on all the remote recording. So it was great.
Since you were doing that already, you were ideally positioned.
Dude, I was so fortunate.
Just in general, you seem to have had kind of like a charmed life. I mean, it's
100%.
Yeah, meteoric rise. It's kind of a cliche, but that's what comes to mind when I think of you. Because Brent Mason calls this like a 10-year town, and I think he might be maybe trying to actively discourage people. Like you call it a 3-year town, and that's very much been your experience. I mean, it seems like you really hit the ground running, which is amazing. I love that. It speaks volumes about not only your mindset and preparation, but also about your positivity.
I appreciate that, man. And to be completely honest, I think I fell into a unique skill set that gave me a leg up before I got here. Because after I went to MI, I went to cruise ships, and I did band leading for them, and I was a band leader on there. And so I just got good at managing drunk homesick idiots, you know.
Yeah.
And it was a blast. I loved it on there.
That certainly helps on the road.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And I had a freakishly good band,
Mhm.
like amazing. Like the band should not have been as good as they were, right? And they kept us
Mhm.
all together for each contract, so we didn't split up every time and everything. So it was great.
Mhm.
Fresh out of college, had my head crammed full of information. I got
Mhm.
to test out with a great band, and then I became an MD really early on. You know, I think most of the guys before me, at least with Carnival, were, you know, at least in their mid 30s. And I
Mhm.
was 21 or 22, I think, when I became an MD.
Mhm.
And but I always had the leadership thing, and I think the leadership thing translated really well to Nashville. As soon as I got here, it's you know, your initial, you know, the first impressions are important.
Mhm.
And every musical environment I was in when I first got here was either as band leader or session leader.
Wow.
And I think it just, and I didn't really, I don't know if I necessarily advertised myself like that right away or anything, but I think it just, people picked up on it. And I wasn't trying to bully myself into a leadership position, but I think it just happened naturally.
Yeah.
And there's a big advantage to the band leader, session leader thing. You know, session leader, obviously, you know, it's double scale, you get paid twice. That's nice.
And you're hiring guys instead of coming to town with your hand out.
That's it.
Looking to get something.
That's the most important part.
That's
and
great.
The best way to get work, and I say this on my channel all the time, is to get work. And so in the pandemic hitting, offered a unique opportunity too, because there's a lot of guys that, you know, it seems like 15 years ago in town, it's either you did sessions or you played live, and there wasn't too much cross-pollination. And I guess because there's just less cocaine budgets on records now and things have changed.
Yeah. Less everything budgets.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of guys that do both and kind of double dip into both sides of it.
Interesting.
And there was guys that I was wanting to work with that were outside my network. And I knew when their live gigs kind of went away and dried up with everything that's going on in 2020. I saw that as an opportunity to start hiring them, because I knew that they had the recording skill set. They were plugged in the studio scene more than I was, but they weren't making the income they were used to making because they didn't have, you know, the salary coming in from whatever artist gig they were on. And so I saw that as an opportunity to hire them to try to expand that network out a little bit, let them see what I do, and, you know, become friends with them, because everything in this business is relationship based. And so it's just an opportunity to develop a relationship. For me, it was when 2020 hit, I felt like I had this momentum starting to build. And because, you know, like when you first get to town, I feel like either one of two things happen. You get a push of momentum, and you can ride that momentum, and you have to be very on top of it, right, to keep it rolling. Or you struggle and you try to find that first contact that introduces you to 3 people. And those 3 introduce you to another 3, now you have 9 people in your network, then 27. It kind of expands like that. If you have the skill set. And so I felt the momentum building, right? And I feel like I was getting ready to get called for like that first, you know, stadium gig kind of thing. And I was starting to creep into those circles a little bit. And then it all got shut down. And I was like, oh man. It was like, because I know how hard it is to keep that momentum going once it dies off. Yeah. And I wasn't sure if it was going to pick up when everything started back up, or how that was going to go. But my feeling was that most people were going to go back to their core circles to try to keep their original buddies working. Not this outlier guy that was just kind of sniffing around, you know, for a while.
Circle the wagons.
Exactly. And so I was like, oh man, you know, I was a little bummed about it. But then thankfully the recording thing, you know, I already had that infrastructure set up online, took off in a way that ended up setting me up for where I'm at now and able to stay home. And now I've played 3 live shows in the last year.
I know. Yeah. I tried to get you for something I couldn't do. I couldn't even get this guy. He was unavailable. But, you know, true to form, he gave me the numbers of 3 other guys.
Yeah, man.
You know, which is awesome.
And I think Owen Barry ended up doing it, if I remember correctly.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And
okay. Yeah, Owen's a good guy.
Owen's a monster player, man. He's hilarious.
Yeah, and he's hilarious. He's got,
so funny.
Speaking of stories, he's got some stories. I think I got to get him on too.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Justin Ostrander and his channel too.
Yeah.
He's also, you know, very generous with his knowledge. And he talked about pivoting from live work to studio work and how terrifying it was with a young family, like having to actually having to say no to paying gigs, you know, because he wanted to stay home. Like, this is what I do now. It seems like circumstances kind of like drove that decision for you. And also since you had some experience doing remote production and stuff, you were already kind of ideally placed to just kind of move into that arena.
I was doing the live thing following the pandemic for 2 years. I was on the road with like a 90s country band. I did that.
Shenandoah, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I was with them, and I planned on doing it for 2 years. Like when I started, I was like, I'm gonna do this for 2 years, try to build some contacts, leverage the name, all that kind of stuff. And when that gig like did what it did, and I resigned,
Mm-hmm.
I started up NashvilleTracking.com, and the plan was to, the original plan was to do the 90s country band thing, then move on to like an early 2000s country artist, then hopefully like a stadium wall and jelly roll type gig or something like that. And use those 3 decades of credits to leverage remote recording work. Because I realized this I was on a session over at James Cook's house, and the artist was in there. And James at the time, I think he just resigned. He was with Luke Bryan for a long time. And Kent Sluicer was on drums with Luke. And everybody played with everybody, kind of guys, but they're also studio guys. And at that time, I was just pretty much just recording, and didn't have the name you have to. At that point, I didn't have the name you don't have to explain gig, and but I was making a living recording, and the artist was in there, and all the guys were down getting coffee, and he was like, "Oh yeah, man, I know James plays with so and so, and you guys play. Who do you play with?" I'm like, I just play for a living. You could see he was like, "Oh, okay, cool." But like he had that was it was a vanity project, and he wanted to go home and tell his friends wherever he's from, oh, I had so and so's bass player and so and so's guitar player and this on it. But on as far as the level of respect among your peers, right? It's all across the board. But when it comes to the mind of somebody that's not in the industry, they want
the client.
The client, that's a big deal to them. And the majority of records being made in Nashville are not #1 hit country records. It's people doing custom projects and vanity projects and projects they believe in, and songwriters needing demos done that are end up not being demos, and that kind of work. That is, I would say, 70% of the work that comes through Nashville. I'd say this is a number could be completely off, but I'd say 70% plus or minus 15% of music being recorded in Nashville is stuff that has no intention of being commercial. And so it's projects that are important to them and they believe in, and they don't understand how the industry works. And there's no, producer with a label funneling money down to the session musicians doing it. And so I realized right there, I'm like, oh, I need to have a few, if I want to leverage more of this type of work, which in my mind was the majority of work out there, I need to have a few names I don't have to explain that I've played with.
Yeah, I checked out your website. First of all, NashvilleTracking.com. That is so genius. It's one of those things like, well, Nashville Guitar Stories. I can't believe that somebody hasn't thought of this already.
It was $10.
And it was
$10. Domain name was $10.
Domain name is $10.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. High five.
Thanks, man.
That's like one. Mark's manager's Music City Management. I couldn't believe that he got that. It was like, who would have thought that was available?
You know what else was
available? It just seemed so obvious.
Nashville Music Business was available.
Really?
Somebody bought it. Yeah.
Wow.
Is that crazy? The original plan was to work for 90s country artists, move on to the 2000s and stadium gig, and leverage those 3 decades to European and Australian markets wanting access to Nashville studio musicians. Because I could sell those, say you're a 50-year-old dude, you love that I played for a 2000s artist. If you're 60, you'd love that I played for the 90s country artist. If you're 35, you'd love that I worked with Jelly Roll or Wallen or whoever, That was the plan. Then I realized that for me, I really wanted to be in the studio, and some of as you progress into some of those more coveted gigs, they weren't paying as much as I thought they were going to pay once I found that out.
Well, those road gigs especially.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow, that's what that gig pays? And I'm like, that's not doable, because I was already losing money to go on the road because I was recording and doing so much overdub work at home. And so I was like, okay, forget this. I'm launching the website. And then I started YouTube, and I wasn't expecting it to take off as quickly as it did, which thankfully drives traffic to the website.
You've been doing this for quite a while.
I did it I started 8 years ago, but honestly, I really started a year ago. So whenever I got off the road, that's when I started doing it. And before that, it was just like I released like a series of licks and things like that. And I did one demo for Rocket Pedals or something like that. I wasn't taking it seriously at all. And then I don't think I posted anything for like 3 years until a year ago. And then I was like, okay, let's do the YouTube thing.
And the funny thing is, the more you do it, the more you think about it, the more ideas you get. It becomes sort of exponential.
100%. And I just keep a list on my phone of just potential video ideas, that hit me when I wake up in the morning or from the shower. I try to get out and try to write them down. People might like this. I'm doing my best to not use ChatGPT to generate those for me.
AI. Do you feel like it's an existential threat? I do a writer's round on Music Row at Virgin Hotel. I ask for charts in advance. They never give them to me. So I let a verse and a chorus go by, and then I kind of sneak in with the volume pedal, do some pedal steel stuff. By the end of the tune, I have parts.
Yeah.
And it's a good time for them because they get some atmosphere in their song. I was talking to one of the gals. I was like, I think your songs are terrific. When you go in the studio, let me know. I'd like to see what I can add to it. And she was like, oh, you're going to hate me. And I'm like, AI, right? And she's like, yeah, I just do everything with Suno now. And I hear, I don't know if this is true, when new writers get a pub deal, that's the first thing they tell them is to learn how to use Suno. Are you starting to have things like this cross your desk?
It's already changed everything. I would say I've in the last 3 months, I produced 5 albums.
Mhm.
And 2 of those albums was a songwriter or two different songwriters that took their lyrics, plugged it into Suno or whatever,
Mhm.
and it spit out a full production. And they, did it 40 times, whatever, until it spit out something they liked.
Mhm.
And they brought it to me and had me replace it with a real band on a tracking session.
Right.
And so my opinion on this is heavily influenced by a podcast I listen to. It's a
Mhm.
Troy Cartwright's. It's called 10 Year Town.
Mhm.
And he did this thing where he just kind of did a monologue about his thoughts on AI. And I feel like he's really on the money. He's like, Van Gogh didn't stop painting when the camera was invented.
Bingo.
And I was like, okay, so everybody thought, oh, that's the death of painting. Who's going to need, paintings anymore where you can take a photograph? And so his whole thing on it was basically anytime that, and I'm butchering all this, he's much more eloquent than me and a great speaker, amazing writer and artist too. But anytime that there's a technological development in the arts, art just broadens and widens.
Mhm.
And in order, you're not going to outproduce AI. I'm not talking about you can produce better than AI, but you're not going to, as far as production, as quantity of it, you're not going to outproduce
And
it.
cheapness. Yeah.
The cheapness. And so we have to out-depth it.
It's expensive in other ways, but that's a whole other, environmentally, and the human cost is yet incalculable, but that's a whole other subject. You have to out-invent and out-create it. And then there's the personal touch. There's the getting a bunch of guys together in the room.
Yes.
There's a kind of magic that happens. There's also
Right.
a certain amount of boilerplate. I mean, I don't want to knock anybody, but there's also a certain amount of kind of cookie cutter that everybody falls back on, particularly when they're banging out 10 demos in one day.
Yeah,
It can get a little bit assembly
trying to
line.
use lunch.
In my opinion, AI is going to cut into some of that.
I think AI is going to eat into a lot of that. I think the stuff that is truly artistic
Mhm.
will stay, and the guys that can crank out the cookie cutter stuff are also brilliant musicians that can dig deep and do that artistic
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
So I feel like, I haven't heard anybody say this yet, but what I feel like is going to happen, a lot of the guys that are playing on the top stuff that have, the experience and are incredible,
Mhm.
and are going to knock off a lot of the guys who are doing the demo stuff, because I think the roles are going to not change, but I think they're going to fall down here. And the guys that are doing a lot of the very commercial stuff that might get AI'd are going to end up doing the custom projects and things like that.
Or the high end records, the Lainey Wilsons and so on.
Yes. Yeah. And what I don't think is going to happen is the people that are doing custom projects, and like I said, that 70% of people that are doing vanity projects, whatever it is, when people come to me and they're paying me to produce a record, they're not paying for a great sounding record. They're paying for the experience of making a great sounding record. And they are not going to get that experience pushing 3 buttons on Suno.
It's also a sacred duty.
That's it.
It's their dream.
If you want magic in the world, here it is. It's the closest thing I found to, like, not sound too woo-woo out there or whatever, but like, if you want to get in touch with whatever God you believe in or whatever spiritual things out there, good luck finding anything more tangible than music that we have regular access to.
Amen, brother. It's 6 strings in your soul.
Yeah. 2 chords in a loop, brother.
Yeah. 2 chords in a loop. I think I need to just throw this away. This is going.
I'm sorry, man. Yeah,
this is going really well. Thanks for coming,
dude. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
This is I can't believe how easy this is. It's really a testimony. I mean, this is why you work, man. You just sit down in the chair and it unfurls.
Oh man, I've always been decent at running my mouth.
Yeah.
my dad grew up with a dad in sales. My mom, she's real popular in my hometown. She's like the shadow mayor of Cape Girardeau,
Why don't we play him out?
Let's do it, man.
I don't know. Folsom?
Let's do Folsom, man.
Folsom.